What happens when you take a Warframe and you basically give them infinite ammo? One of the Warframes that can deal the most damage in the game. One of the Warframes that has the highest damage potential in Warframe. Well, today we're going to find out. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, leave a like, subscribe, and let's get into this. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So today for you, I have a Mirage Nuke build, which I recently got a hold of, and I've recently been testing and playing with for a while now. Now this Mirage Nuke build is pretty difficult to get into because it requires at least 4 forma on your Warframe, 5 forma on your, primary of choice. On the Latham itself, I have, currently, I have 6 forma, and for my Exodia Contagion build, I have 4 forma. So it's not an easy build to get into, but I do think that it's probably one of the best, just like fun builds that I have. So first of all, let's go over my Mirage. Now, of course, me saying that it needs 4 forma, why do I not have 4 forma on it? Well, simple. I haven't really had the time to put more forma on Mirage, number 1. Number 2, I don't really have the excess forma available to me. So what this Mirage is it's basically a build based around nerfs that happened like 1.5 years ago, where we lost a lot of the excess ammunition that we had for primaries, secondaries, and it was an unfortunate one. But the worst part of it was that we lost a lot of the excess ammunition on explosive weapons. So, I've taken it upon myself to kind of mitigate that problem. So, what I came up with, and this is something that I have on multiple builds, I have one Gauss build that has this same fix on it, and what I came up with was energized munitions. What it does is it increases the efficiency of your ammo consumption. So, it doesn't have a buffable amount, but at base it's 75%, which is pretty good. So basically, depending on how lucky you are, you could have infinite ammo, and it lasts for 10 seconds. That's with about 204% duration, which you can increase if you want or decrease if you want. It doesn't really matter. This was basically a build of mine that was utilizing Mirage heavily, that I ended up having to redo and stuff, and I don't have all of my mods maxed out, so that's the reason why it's only 204%. For this build, I'm focusing on her 1, which is Hall of Mirrors, which gives a damage buff of around 57%. Now, I'm not one of the people who goes into multiplicative versus additive in Warframe. It's a pretty good buff. It's definitely what you should be building for in Mirage. My 2 is, of course, energized munitions. This is the most important part of this build because what we are using in this build is AoE weapons. So, if you're wanting to use, the Kuva Brahma, the Kuva Tsar, the Felarax, this is where that comes into play. Her 3, of course, is Eclipse. This is a damage increase of 572%, which means again, not going to go into if that's additive or multiplicative. I don't really care. You can, crunch the numbers, see what you get, but I don't care. It also gives a 95% damage reduction in the darkness. So what you'll mainly want to be doing is staying in the light. So for example, void missions are what I would typically go for. Now, as far as aura mods are concerned, I use Energy Siphon. Now, you can use a lot of different things. There are probably dozens of better aura mods. This is what I go with. It's my personal favorite. Now, you may be seeing that I don't have an Exless mod. Now, the Exless mod is where I want to get into more specifics, because that is where I would say that you want to have Prime Sure-Footed. Prime Sure-Footed you can get as early as day 400, I believe. which is whenever I got mine. And it is incredibly useful, as it basically just allows me to, you know, not get knocked down, not take knockback damage, you know, all these different things that in general can absolutely mess up your, you know, playstyle or how you're playing. Next up, I have Narrow-Minded, which is 81% ability duration. You can obviously have more if you max out Narrow-Minded. I just don't have the resources for it. Primed Flow for the energy maximum. You can go with Equilibrium on this. I went with Primed Flow because that's what most of my classes have. Rolling Guard is a staple in Warframe classes. On dodge, become invulnerable for 2.8 seconds. Now, when maxed out, it's 3 seconds, and it removes all status effects. That's a universal thing. But the most important is, it has a 7% cooldown whenever you max it out, which I definitely recommend doing. If you're going to put any resources into anything, I would definitely say Rolling Guard is one of them. Next up, I have Augur Secrets. Now, I went basically all duration and strength. So this is one of 3 strength mods that I believe, or one of 4 strength mods that I have. It doesn't need this. Mirage is insane with only like a couple strength mods, but this is just to get closer to that 600% damage increase. Next up, we have Blind Rage. Blind Rage is another 81% ability strength, 81% increase. Like Narrow-Minded, it does around the same thing. It just gets negative 45% ability efficiency. Now, with all this being said, you would want to max out all of these mods. As you can see, almost all of my mods are not maxed out. The only one that is maxed out is Augur Secrets, and that's because, to be fair, that one's pretty easy to get maxed out because it only has 5 ticks. Next up, we have Primed Continuity, which is just plus 45% ability duration, again adding more to that ability duration. Transient Fortitude, which is another 45% ability strength this time. It also gets rid of ability duration, but I honestly think that duration is a lot less useful than strength in this Warframe. Last but not least, we have plus 36% ability strength. This would go all the way up to plus 44% ability strength once you have everything set and done. Now, as far as arcanes are concerned, I'm just using the ones that I have, you know, the most levels with, or the most amount of arcanes. For that, I have Arcane Blade Charger, which is on primary weapon kill, 30% chance for 100% melee damage for 12 seconds. And Arcane Primary Charger, which is on melee kill, 30% chance for 50% primary weapon damage for 12 seconds. Of course, I would definitely recommend Energize instead of Prime Flow so that you can get maybe Prism Guard. But that is, as of now, this is my current Mirage build. I will eventually get, you know, a couple more Formos so that I can get Prime Sure-Footed. But for now, this is the main build. Next up, we have the Kuvazar. The Kuvazar is, in my opinion, the best AoE weapon currently. Now, that being said, a lot of people will say that the Felrax or the Laden or any Incarnate weapon is better, but I just think that for what it originally was, this is my favorite, and hands down is my opinion of the best. So for this one, we have Galvanized Chamber, not maxed out because I just don't have the resources to max it out. Vigilante Armaments for the multi-shot. Oh, I should probably show you what these are. Galvanized Chamber, which is plus 65% multi-shot, and then on kill it adds 24.5% multi-shot to 5. That has the potential to stack 5 times. Vigilante Armament is plus 60% multi-shot, and it has a 5% chance to enhance critical hits, which just means that it buffs the critical chance that you currently have. Critical Delay, plus 200% critical chance, minus 20% fire rate. Vital Sense, this is just another crit buff, because we're mainly focusing on crits here because of Hunter Munitions, which gives a plus 30% chance to apply slash on critical. which in this game Slash is the dominant force, including viral heat. Slash is the best single element mod, as well as heat. We have Firestorm, which if you have Prime Firestorm, I would definitely recommend changing it out for Prime Firestorm, but because I have only the basic mod, we stick with regular Firestorm. We have Rhyme Rounds because this is a innate toxin czar. I chose Rhyme Rounds as its plus status chance, which you don't get much in this weapon. So I just thought that this would be a better use of the mod slot. Now, this is where things get a little weird, because there is an opinion out there that Galvanized Aptitude does not work. Now, I personally do not know. If it does work, then this is a really good mod. If it doesn't work, then unfortunately this is a waste of a mod slot. Once I figure out if it works or not, I will switch it out. But for now, Galvanized Aptitude stays. And what Galvanized Aptitude does is it gives an innate status chance buff, and then on kill, it has a plus 32.7% direct damage per status type, affecting target for 20 seconds. Now, I don't really... The best way to say this is the more status effects that are on the target, the more damage this does overall. And this stacked up to 2 times. As far as this little rifle mutation, there was a really big nerf on the AoE weapon class for... Well, it's not really a weapon class, but the AoE weapons themselves recently. So this is just a way of getting more ammo in less amount of time, because the ammo drops are way less than they used to be. Primary Merciless. Now, this is one that you can change. It's on kill plus 30% damage for 4 seconds, which stacks up to 12 times. There are 3 versions of this specific. There's Merciless, Deadhead, and there is Dexterity. Dexterity allows you to, on melee kill, get 360% damage for 20 seconds instead of 4. It also adds combo duration, but I personally don't enjoy it because that requires me switching over to my melee weapon, and whilst the melee weapon is a big part of this build, it's not very good. There's also Primary Deadhead, which I actually really like. It's plus 30% damage for... I think it's on precision headshot kill plus 60% damage for 24 seconds, and this stacks up to another 6 times. Right now it's only at 3 times because it's a lower level mod, but at max, it does, it additively has a plus 30% headshot multiplier and negative 50% weapon recoil. Now there are a bunch of other ones like plated rounds, primary obstruct, fractalized reset, primary blight, and of course exhilarate. I personally don't use anything else other than like primary deadhead, but I will eventually whenever I get one of those. I think it'll be the heat one that I will add to my secondary because I have a Kuva Nuke that is primarily heat. Next up for the Latham, we have Galvanized Diffusion, which is the multi-shot mod, but it's a better version of the multi-shot mod. It's plus 90% multi-shot on kill. On kill, you gain 24.5% multi-shot for 20 seconds, and this stacks up to 4 times. We have Lethal Turret, which is plus 60% fire rate and plus 60% multi-shot. We have Pistol Pestilence, which is plus 60% toxin and plus 60% status chance. We have Frostbite, which is plus 60% cold and plus 60% status chance again. These make up Viral, which is the best combined element in the game. It makes Viral, which is absolutely insane. I think it ignores armor, or it does better damage against armored enemies. I don't know the specifics because I'm not a nerd, but you can do that if you want. But the main focus of this is the heat. Now, heat is the best single element in the game. The more stacks of heat you have on a target, the better this weapon does. So we have Scourge, which is plus 60% heat and plus 60% status chance. Anemic Agility, which is plus 90% fire rate at the drawback of negative 15% damage, which sounds like a lot, but at higher levels of play, this is basically negligible, because if you have a secondary arcane adapter, you can get Merciless, Deadhead, you can get Dexterity even. There are plenty of other ways of getting a damage buff. You have Galvanized Shot, again, don't know if it's working at this point. If it isn't working, I would definitely recommend putting on a Expel mod, Corrupted, Corpus, Infested, and Grenier, depending on which mission type you're going into. But that is the main focus. Eventually you would want to add this to your build, be it by getting rid of, Lethal Turret might not be the best on this if you use Expel mods. Last but not least, we have Primed Heated Charge, which is plus 135% heat, which I believe max out is 165% heat. And lastly, for the X-less slot of the weapon, we have Steady Hands, which is absolutely a must on this weapon, because this weapon has insane kick, insane recoil at higher levels. And because you want to hit those headshots to activate the Incarnate form, you want to do that. Now, I don't have the maxed out Incarnate because I don't have 3 Incarnate weapons across the weapon types. But once you get that, you go for, Devouring Attrition, or you can go for Overwhelming Attrition and just get rid of status effect-based things. Lastly, my Exodia Contagion. Now, Exodia Contagion is a special mod because it does a little special thing where air melee projectile damage increased by 400% after traveling 30 meters. Now, you may be wondering, does this weapon naturally have a air melee? No. Exodia Contagion adds that air melee projectile, and it is insane. At higher levels, you can just be, chilling, and then if you're Wisp and you use Breach Surge and, Eclipse, you can get 2.4 billion damage, which is the damage cap. It's, consistent across all games. So, you have Sundering Weave, which is just the stance that I had. Prime Pressure Point, which you can switch out for Sacrificial Pressure. I don't really care that much about, that extra bit. I will be maxing out Sacrificial Steel because it's way better than, True Steel? Luckily enough, if you're doing pure heavy, it has double the effects of Sacrificial Steel, so you get about 360% critical chance. Gladiator Might for that plus 60% critical damage, plus the 10% critical chance per combo multiplier, which is basically just, Blood Rush, but better. Organ Shatter, which is just more critical damage, so about 150% critical damage. Shocking Touch, and Fever Strike, just because you could go pure heat, you could go pure, toxin. I prefer this because Corrosive, in my opinion, I love Corrosive. I'm not one of those guys that instantly goes to viral. I prefer heat, but sometimes I'll put on Corrosive depending on, what type of content I'm going into. My Riven mod, which I still need to reroll because, that plus 49% damage to Corpus is not as useful as more critical chance. And the big thing is that critical chance for a slide attack kind of gets in the way of the heavy attack. Because for the heavy attack, you have to jump into the air. Typically, you would want a bullet jump. You have to aim glide just by pressing LT in the air. You have to slide, move forward, and then press B, or whatever your heavy attack is. And that's complicated, but that also gets in the way of the the last part of the Riven mod, which is unfortunate and I don't particularly like. Last but not least, we have Killing Blow, which is plus 120% melee damage on heavy attack, and then a plus 60% heavy attack wind-up speed. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, well, that's not a very good mod, you know? Wouldn't it be better to have, like, an Expel mod or a, you know, one of the faction-specific mods? And I'd agree, but I don't particularly care. I've been playing this game for a long time. I don't go to endless cap, but I do think those people who do are heavily talented. You know, Nightmare Frame, you know, those other ones, sorry, I'm blanking. There's like As Invasions, I think does a little bit. And then there's one more, Life Water. Yeah, Life Water. Incredibly good at the game. I don't particularly care to go to level cap and above. But at the end of the day, this is my setup. I also use Carrier with Ammo mod. Ammo case increases ammo capacity by 25%. Not great, but because I'm using an incredibly important item, I prefer to have this. Unfortunately, Carrier dies pretty soon into Steel Path, but if you're lucky, you can do that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the little setup video. This is my Nuke Mirage build. Incredibly potent at Steel Path. I'm doing the test with without God, I'm trying to think of a word. I'm doing the test without the enemies moving because I'm not great at the game. If you guys, you know, if my saying that didn't really prove anything, this is a really good build if you are like decent at movement in the game. But for me, I'm not, you know, I'm a controller player. I've always been a controller player, so I struggle with like movement in video games. But I do think this is an incredibly potent build, and you do well by, you know, mixing this into your, you know, daily life. The Tsar is incredibly good, and yeah, with this I will, you know, shut up and let you enjoy whatever gameplay I put at the end. It'll probably be only 5 minutes of Steel Path